Hello all of you, this is Yoga Time. Welcome all of you once again to the program called The Body and the Mind. Welcome Sanjeev ji.
Yeah, thank you.
I've read somewhere that there is something called pranayama in yoga. Out of curiosity, I'd like to ask you, what is pranayama? What are the uses of pranayama? How do we practice it? You know, those sorts of doubts I have.
Actually, in Ashtanga Yoga, we say, Ashtanga Yoga is formulated by one of the saint called Patanjali Maharishi.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 limbs of yoga. For a person to achieve the higher state of his consciousness in his lifetime. And the 8 limbs of yoga are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. So Pranayama is the 4th limb of Ashtanga Yoga.
Okay. Ashtanga is 8. No?
Ashtanga means 8. Yama and Niyama are basically the 10 principles of management.
Mm-hmm.
Then Asana is the exercises part, wherein you can strengthen your physical body.
Okay.
And Pranayama is the vital breath, prana, life energy. Then we have the subtler aspect of Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. So the 4th limb of Ashtanga Yoga is what deals with Pranayama.
Okay.
Since you wanted to know about Pranayama, Pranayama is made up of 2 words, Prana and Ayama. And what is Prana if you observe? Prana is the vital life energy that we all have within us.
Air or something like that? Or no?
No, air is only the gross part of that energy. Prana, this vital energy, for example, without prana, nothing will move. An insect, an animal, a bird, all of us, we all move around to hear, to talk, to walk. For any action, a vital source of energy has to be there.
Okay.
And we don't require chargers like mobile chargers to charge. Our energy is from the power of the breath. So prana is already existent in us. From the womb itself, the child gets life. From that stage onwards, prana is with us.
Okay.
So that prana is what helps it to grow, whether it's from the womb, as it takes birth. This vital life energy is what sustains us, helps us to achieve things, and this vital energy is called prana.
Okay.
In Sanskrit it's called prana, Chinese they call it as chi, Japanese call it as ki. The essence is the same vital energy.
Okay.
Even a car to move, a vehicle to move, everything they need this energy.
Okay. So prana is energy.
Prana is the vital life energy for anything to move. Ayama means expanding or extending that energy. Because if you observe, we have this energy within us, but we do not utilize it in fullness. The capacity is there, but our intake of the prana is less. So malfunctioning happens in the system.
Okay.
For example, the liver doesn't function. You don't have appetite. For the liver to function, sufficient prana should be there. It's like, you have a toy car. The car, if the charge is not full, it only does the basic movements. The charge is full, all the remote, everything functions. Likewise, in a human being, prana is the vital source of life energy which we need to have. And this we get only by our breathing practices. We breathe properly. If you don't breathe properly, you don't get life energy. See, many a time if you observe from morning, we are all fresh, we run to office, we finish all those things. By evening you reach home, then if someone comes and calls you, come on, we'll go there, we'll say, please leave me alone, I don't want to do anything. You don't want to talk, you don't want to hear, you don't want to eat, you only want to hit the bed. Why? The energy level is very, very, very low. Some people, if you see, they are energetic all the time. Some, very soon they become tired. All this is because of prana, the life energy. So, what is prana if you observe? Prana is not the misconception. Prana means the breath. Breath is the gross part of the aspect of prana. The energy that goes along with the breath is prana.
Okay. So it's an ingredient actually.
It's in subtler form. The gross part of the prana is the breath. The subtler form is the life energy, the heat which is there.
Okay.
So today I think since you have asked about pranayama, we'll go to the sequence of pranayamas.
Before that, when can somebody practice pranayama? Especially this is the holy month of Ramadan, especially in the Middle East, this part. People fast and so many things going around.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong in practicing pranayama at this particular junction.
See, whether you want it or not, you're already with prana.
Okay.
Without prana, no one lives.
So it doesn't make a big difference.
You should, the more you do pranayama, the more energetic you are.
Okay. Fine.
So even for example, when people are fasting, pranayama helps them to keep up the energy levels more, and all those things.
Okay.
So coming to pranayama, actually we'll just see how it has an impact on our day-to-day life. See, most of us, we do not know how to properly breathe also. I have so many people landing up with breathing problem, asthma, and if you check their breath, the breathing is absolutely wrong. See, it's like you have an equipment, but you do not know how to use it. So your capacity is so good, but you don't use it in the proper way. So when you don't use it in the proper way, automatically the capacity is reduced, nor are you able to see. Air is abundant, it is there, but I don't take it. So you land up with health issues. You don't breathe properly. Stagnant air settles in the lower part of the lungs, having tuberculosis, TBs have, breathing problems have, plenty of impurities lies in the lower part of the lungs. All because your breathing is not good.
Okay.
So before getting into pranayama is a vital knowledge which everyone in the world should have.
Okay.
If you do not know how to breathe, then what's the use? See, many a time even if you ask, just see how you are breathing, many of them look up, yeah, I am breathing. Then only they realize they are breathing. Breathing is something which you should start loving your breath. The more you start loving your breath, the more you will be able to understand the vital energy that you can generate out of this process that we are all the time into. So we'll get into the breath. Let us sit straight and just sit straight, back straight, hands on your knees, eyes closed. Make your body absolutely still. Feel the stillness of the body. Feel your whole body from the head down, up to the fingertips and to the toes. And now, slowly shift your awareness to the breath of the nostrils. Feel each ingoing and outgoing breath. You need not forcefully breathe in and breathe out. Breathing happens on its own. Observe the normal, natural breath. One time you inhale and one time you exhale is called one respiration. Just observe the number of respirations we do per minute. You should not force yourself to breathe. You just need to observe your breath. Now we'll just check the number of times or number of respirations we are doing per minute.
Okay.
Okay? So when I start, you just count the number of respirations. So one inhalation, one exhalation is one respiration. So when I say start, you just start counting the number of respirations.
Okay. Both.
And don't forcefully breathe or make it slow.
Okay.
See, whether we know it or not, breathing happens on its own.
Okay.
Just observe the normal. You be a witnessing principle to the breath. That's it.
You count it straight away or just count?
Just like, see, one time you inhale, one time you exhale, you observe one.
Okay.
Like that, how many respirations we are doing per minute, we'll just observe. Okay? Sit straight, back straight. Normalize your breath. Observe your breath. And now, start counting. Breathing happens on its own. You just need to observe the breath. One time inhale and one time exhale. Forms one respiration. Just observe the normal, natural breath. How many respirations are there?
14.
14. Yeah. If you see the number of respirations per minute and your breathing pattern has a great impact on the lifespan also. If you observe animals like dogs, the birds, all these animals and birds, their breathing is very fast if you observe. They breathe almost 50 to 80 times per minute. You observe their lifespan. What is the lifespan of
Very
a dog?
short.
It may be 15 years, 16 years. So the faster you breathe, the faster you go up. And if you see a horse, they live up to 30 years. Their breathing is almost 50 times per minute.
Okay.
Elephants live up to 100 years. Their breathing is very, 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 very slow. In yogic philosophy it is said, a person is given this much of breath to live, not months and years. So the faster you breathe, you go out fast. The slower you breathe, you live for a long time. Human beings, it is said, we can live up to 160 years. But nowadays, even before we reach 60, 70, we think all over. So it's because our prana or using of the prana is not clearly understood. And whenever we are tensed up, you would have observed our breathing is very fast. So before we get into it, it's always good to note, even the sea turtle, if you observe, they live up to more than 300 to 500 years. Their breathing is very, 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 very slow. When breathing is slow, the thing, what happens is the body also doesn't get destroyed. See, otherwise the heartbeat is fast. It's like, full throw a car engine also. Accelerator you put little more and go. All the time that sound will be there. That smoothness will not be there. Likewise, in our body functioning also, whenever we are stressed out or tensed, automatically all the systems are in a hyper mode.
Okay.
We call it as the fight and flight mechanism is in process. So, breathing is, we have to make it as slow as possible. Okay. Now, there are 3 types of breathing that we generally do. One is called the abdominal breathing. One is called the thoracic breathing or chest breathing.
Okay.
And the other is called clavicular breathing. Clavicular or shoulder breathing. Now just observe, we need to just sit straight and keep your hands on the abdomen. Inhale slowly. Slowly exhale. Inhale. Just observe the movement of the stomach as you breathe in and breathe out. Now slowly place your hands on the chest. Inhale slowly. Slowly exhale. Now place your hands on the shoulders. Inhale and slowly exhale. Now slowly open your eyes. See, when you kept your hands here, when you are taking the breath in, what happened to the abdomen? Did it come in or did it go in or come out?
When you took the breath,
Inhaling in, yeah.
it's little expanding sort of thing.
Expanding. When you kept here, was the expansion more on the chest region or on the abdominal region?
Of course.
Stomach
Yeah.
or chest?
Stomach.
Stomach. See, what is normal breathing is, whenever you inhale, whenever you lie down, for example, if you have noticed the children, or even we, when we lie down to bed, when you inhale, the stomach slowly comes out. Exhaling, it goes down. This is called the normal abdominal breathing.
Okay.
Now what is happening is, whenever you are inhaling, there is a muscle called the diaphragm, which pushes the abdominal organs down, paves way for the lungs to take more oxygen,
Okay.
and the stomach slowly comes out. But if you see, I've seen almost 60 to 65% of the people today are doing reverse breathing. Reverse breathing means whenever they're inhaling, stomach is going in. Exhaling, it comes out. So what is happening is, when you're inhaling, it's like the diaphragm, instead of pushing the abdominal organs down, it is raising it up. It's like you have a cotton bag. You keep your hand underneath. From top you're trying to fill it up.
Okay.
Simultaneously you're pushing your hand up. Will the capacity increase or reduce?
Of course, that's the problem.
It's reduced.
It will reduce.
It will reduce. See, so whenever you're inhaling and the diaphragm is pushed up, that is the stomach going in and diaphragm is pushed up, automatically you're reducing your lung capacity.
Okay.
Whereas when you inhale, it has to go down and pave way for the lungs to take more oxygen. So this is called reverse breathing. This has to be rectified first. Otherwise, what is happening is you are straining more, but you are getting less oxygen. There, in abdominal breathing, you can see, I'll just show you also. When you inhale, there is never a strain. But when you do chest breathing, you are limiting the intake, plus there is a strain. I'll just show you one abdominal breathing. Just see if there is any movement in the body, and even the time, if you observe, it is very too much. We can take a good capacity of the air inside. One abdominal breathing. Here there is no strain. Now, if you are going to do chest breathing, just observe. This is the limit only you can take. Now, whenever people have asthma problem or breathing problem, you would have observed their breathing is like they're straining so much, they're losing energy, but they're not getting sufficient breath also. So knowing this breathing pattern is very important to utilize your lung capacity. It's like you have a fantastic capacity, but you are not utilizing it.
Okay.
So far it is air is free. You can breathe nicely.
That's the only thing you get free.
That you need to breathe properly. It said it is the size, the capacity of the air that you can is 400 cubic, the size of a tennis court. You know, that much capacity we have, but we do
That's all.
little running, there's gasping. So energy level is very, very low. Some people, if you see, they are very, in your day-to-day life, the achievements are good, running, because their prana is very vital and they get more of it. So breathing plays a major role, especially you need to do the abdominal breathing more, not the thoracic breathing or the clavicular breathing. And whenever you do this, the diaphragm is actually moving up and down. Now let us say when you're exhaling, the diaphragm is pushing the lower part of the lungs to expel the complete carbon dioxide out of the lungs. Now if your breathing is not right, what is happening? Your intake of oxygen is also less, and since it is fast, the oxygen is not absorbed fully into the body, and exhalation, the carbon dioxide is also not expelled from the body. So the lungs is not able to neither get the full capacity nor able to purify the system. So this malfunctioning of the lungs has an impact on the whole physiology or the the mind also it disturbs, because whenever you are stressed or tensed up, your tension shows in the breath, and this has an impact on the body also. So pranayama is very much important in our day-to-day life, So this is what it is. Now if we can even have an introduction to one of the basic pranayama, which is very, very important, and all can do it. So we'll do that also.
Yeah.
Open your eyes into the world of Elcome International Dubai. Here we provide world-class marine electronic sales and service for you. We are at your service with a wide range of products from the leading manufacturers in the maritime industry. We also offer airtime solutions, automation solutions, charts and publication solutions, communication solutions, firefighting solutions, life safety solutions, and navigation solutions. Elcome, engineering electronic excellence. MSI Ship Management Private Limited, leading provider of one-stop high-quality marine services, offers a wide array of services from technical ship management and crew management, new building supervision, repair and engineering services, bunker brokerage, ship broking, ship agency, manpower supply, marine fuel services, surveys and inspection of ships. MSI Ship Management Private Limited, client-focused tailor-made solutions.
Today we will learn the fundamental of breathing practice, and the first one we can learn today is called the yogic breathing. Yogic breathing basically is a combination of abdominal, chest and the clavicular region. Thereby we can utilize the full lung capacity and help to take the more vital energy into the body systems. Okay. And this yogic breathing, you can do it in a lying down posture.
Flat.
Yeah, I'll just show you initially how to do, and then we'll do it together.
Yeah.
In yogic breathing, what we do is we just will be sitting in cross-leg posture. See, those who can sit in cross-leg posture, it's nice. If we can't, you can even stretch your legs and do it. But it's better to do in the cross-legged posture. Here, we lie down. In yogic breathing, initially, I'll just keep my hands here so that you know expansion, how it has to come and all these things. It's like, it's like a wave. The stomach slowly comes up, the chest comes up, and then the maximum oxygen we take for the lungs, and then the chest comes down and the stomach goes fully in. Initially, I'll just keep my hand on the abdomen so that, and one on the chest, so that you can feel the expansion. One time you raise it up, take the breath, and one time you exhale is one yogic breathing.
Okay.
So one time you inhale, taking the maximum oxygen, is half yogic breathing. One exhalation combined together becomes one yogic breathing. So just now I've done one, just observe, just see. Once again. one yogic breathing. Now, to even utilize the clavicular region or shoulder region, what we do is we raise our hands and hold the elbows. Here, the head should not touch the hands, so that you stretch this side and you can fill the lungs with the oxygen. Now, if you have been to the seaside, you would have observed the waves swell and it slowly comes to the shore. Then it pauses and immediately goes down, swells and again goes down. So it's like a wave that comes up and goes. Okay? Just observe. This is one yogic breathing. Okay? Got it? Once more, go, once more. You want to see?
Once more.
Just observe.
So I first start with the abdomen.
First, to keep your hands to know the expansion on the abdomen, the chest and everything. After that you need not do it, just to know. Come, lie down. Legs folded, cross-legged. Place one hand on the stomach here, one on the upper chest to feel the expansion. Now, exhale completely. Exhale. Now start the breathing. Inhale, push your stomach out. Slowly, very, very slow. Expand a little more, the chest also up. Just pause for a moment. Now chest comes down and the stomach goes fully in. Breathing should be very, very, very slow, full and deep. You need not hold the breath also.
Okay.
This is how we do the yogic breathing. Now you raise your hands, hold the elbows. The head should not touch the hands. And now you can do the breathing. Like inhale slowly, stomach comes out. The chest up. Hold, pause for a moment. Chest comes down, stomach goes fully in, fully in. Do it 5 times. Inhale. Pause for a moment. Chest comes down, stomach goes fully in. Breathing should be very, very slow. Inhale. Exhale. Deep breath. Little more. Inhale. Chest comes down. Stomach goes fully in. Okay. Stretch your legs. Hands on the sides. Just close your eyes and do the normal breathing. This is what is called the yogic. So this actually helps to combine the abdominal, thoracic and the clavicular. Now, when can you do this?
Yeah.
In the early morning, as soon as you get up from the bed, the bed itself, you raise your hands and do it. You'll feel energetic in the morning.
Okay.
And then you can do it in the evening when you come back from office if you have time. Or even sitting in the office, you need not lie down. You can sit in the chair and do the same pattern of breathing. Don't raise your hand also. Increase your lung capacity by taking slow, deep breath. Now you're driving and you're stuck in the traffic and all those things. Instead of shouting and yelling and all these things, we can just take deep breathing. This, whenever you take breathing, and the more slow, full and deep you take, the more the mind also can calm down. See, whenever the mind is agitated, breath becomes faster. Now bring back the breath to a very slow pace, automatically your mind also becomes calm. There's a direct impact. So by modulating your breath, you can even bring in a state of relaxation to the mind also. And yogic breathing is very, very good because you're using the lung capacity to the optimum. And the absorption of the oxygen into the blood to form the oxyhemoglobin, it's very good to send all the life energy to all the cells of the body. So oxygen content can be more, energy can be more, your enthusiasm and your activity in day-to-day life can be much more doubled. So proper knowledge of breathing and utilization can help a person to live his full life, not half life. You half breathe, your life is also half. You do the full breathing, your life is also in fullness. This is what is the essence of pranayama.
Hope you enjoyed the show, but unfortunately we have time only until now. But it doesn't matter, we'll catch you up in the next shows, in the coming shows, and this is just the fundamentals of Prana Yoga, because in the coming episodes we're going to teach you and show you all about pranayamas in the one and only program, The Body and the Mind. Thank you and goodbye.